The sun blazed high in the sky, casting a golden hue over the grand church where my wedding was about to take place. I stood at the altar, heart pounding, dressed in a worn-out suit that hung loosely on my frame. The fabric was frayed at the edges, and the color had faded long ago, a stark contrast to the opulence that surrounded me. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above, and rows of white roses adorned the pews, creating an atmosphere of luxury that felt almost suffocating. I could hear the gentle murmur of the guests, their whispers blending with the soft strains of the wedding march. Friends and family, all dressed to the nines, awaited the moment when Vanessa would walk down the aisle. I glanced at their expectant faces, their smiles brightening the room, and felt a wave of anxiety wash over me. Would they see through my facade? Would they understand why I had chosen this path? As the music swelled, all eyes turned toward the entrance. My breath caught in my throat as I saw her, the vision of beauty that was Vanessa. She glided toward me in a stunning gown that hugged her figure perfectly, a cascade of silk and lace that shimmered like the finest jewels. But just as I had rehearsed, I remained still, my heart racing as she approached. I needed to know if her love was genuine. When she reached me, I searched her eyes, hoping to find a glimmer of understanding or even a flicker of concern. Instead, there was confusion, a brief moment where I saw her eyes widen, and I could almost hear the gears turning in her mind. "Lucas, is that really you?" she whispered, her voice barely audible over the gasps of the crowd. "Of course it's me," I replied, forcing a smile that felt more like a grimace. "Just trying something new today." Her expression shifted, and I could see the wheels turning. The guests shifted uneasily, their excitement fading into a palpable tension. "What do you mean, something new?" she asked, her voice rising slightly. "This isn't funny, Lucas. Vanessa, let's just get through the ceremony," I said, trying to maintain my composure. "I'm here for you." But as I looked around, I noticed the shocked faces of our friends and family, their whispers growing louder. A deep-seated fear began to gnaw at me. What if she didn't love me for who I was, but rather for what I could offer? Would the truth of my situation shatter her dreams of grandeur? Suddenly, her face fell, and I saw her mouth tighten into a thin line. "I can't marry someone like this," she declared, her voice steady but laced with disbelief. "You're ruining everything." The words hung in the air, sharp and biting, and I felt my heart plummet. The gasps from the crowd grew louder, and I could almost feel the weight of their judgment pressing down on me. "Vanessa, please," I pleaded, desperation creeping into my tone. "This isn't what it looks like." "Enough," she snapped, her frustration boiling over. "You've embarrassed me in front of everyone. I can't believe you would do this on our wedding day." Stunned silence enveloped the church. I looked around, seeing the pity in the eyes of my friends, the disbelief on the faces of my family. My heart shattered as I realized that this was the moment I had been waiting for, the confirmation of my worst fears. As Vanessa turned on her heel, storming down the aisle, I felt a strange sense of liberation wash over me. Maybe it was the embarrassment, or perhaps it was the relief of knowing my instincts had been right all along. I had wanted to test her loyalty, and in doing so, I had uncovered a truth far more profound than I could have imagined. The guests began to whisper among themselves, and I stood there, feeling utterly exposed. The elaborate decorations and the opulent setting that once felt like a dream now felt like a prison. With every passing second, the weight of my decision settled deeper, but I knew I had made the right choice. I was free. "Lucas, what just happened?" My best friend Jake approached, a mix of concern and confusion etched on his face. "I think I just saved myself from a lifetime of regret," I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. The reality of the situation washed over me, and I took a deep breath, finally understanding that true love was built on something far more substantial than wealth and status. I had to find what was real, but where would that journey take me next? The church was still buzzing with whispers, the air heavy with disbelief and shock. I stood there, my heart pounding in my chest, still reeling from the betrayal I had just witnessed. Vanessa had rejected me, not just on the altar, but in front of everyone who mattered to me. Her eyes, filled with disdain as she took in my ragged suit, had been a cruel reminder of the superficiality that had plagued our relationship. I forced myself to look away from the guests, their expressions ranging from pity to curiosity. I needed to find Jake. As I stumbled out of the church, my mind was a whirlwind of emotions. I could feel the weight of the disappointment pressing down on me. Jake was leaning against his car, looking nervous, an expression I had never seen on him. He must have sensed my anger because he straightened up as soon as I approached. "Lucas," he began, his voice shaky. I didn't know you'd." "Cut the crap, Jake," I snapped, the bitterness in my tone surprising even me. "What the hell were you thinking? You're my best friend. How could you betray me like this?" He ran a hand through his hair, his eyes darting away from mine. "I didn't mean for it to happen. It just did." "Did what? Did you just fall into bed with her? Or was it planned all along?" I could feel the heat rising in my cheeks, a mixture of anger and heartbreak. "It was a mistake, man. Swear. Vanessa, she's just so charming and..." "Charming?" I interrupted, my voice rising. "You think she's charming? She's a gold digger, Jake. You know that as well as I do. I just wanted to give her a chance to prove otherwise. And look where that got me." Jake looked contrite, but his expression didn't help ease the storm inside me. "I'm sorry, Lucas. I really am. I never wanted to hurt you." "Too late for apologies," I muttered, my fists clenching at my sides. I can't believe I was so blind. I turned away from him, the realization settling like a stone in my gut. I was relieved, yes, but the pain of betrayal still stung. I had dodged a bullet, but it didn't feel like a victory. I needed to clear my head. I walked aimlessly, my feet carrying me away from the church, away from the remnants of what was supposed to be my wedding day. As I wandered, I stumbled upon a dump on the outskirts of town. The stench was overpowering, but something about the chaos of discarded items caught my attention. I stepped inside, the ground beneath me crunching with debris. In that moment of solitude, I spotted her, a young woman sorting through the trash with a bright smile on her face, as if she were sifting through treasures instead of garbage. "What are you doing here?" I asked, my voice hoarse from the tension of the day. She looked up, her eyes sparkling with life. "Just finding some things that can be reused. You'd be surprised how much good stuff gets thrown away." Her enthusiasm was infectious, and for a moment I forgot about my heartache. "Are you serious? You're not worried about the smell?" I asked incredulously. She laughed, a sound so pure it felt like a balm to my wounded spirit. "Not really. It's just part of the job. Besides, I like to think of it as recycling. Every little bit helps." "Recycling?" I echoed, shaking my head. "I'm not sure I could ever see it that way." "Why not? You know, every item here has a story." She gestured to a broken chair. "That could be fixed and made beautiful again. Just like people." Her words struck a chord in me, and I found myself drawn to her simplicity. "What's your name?" "Ana Clara." "And you?" "Lucas," I replied, a small smile creeping onto my lips. "Nice to meet you, Lucas. You look like you could use a friend," she said gently. I chuckled, the absurdity of my situation washing over me. "You have no idea." As we continued to talk, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Ana Clara's laughter and perspective on life were refreshing, a stark contrast to the superficiality I had just left behind. In that moment, I realized that perhaps I had been searching for something deeper, something genuine. And here it was, right in front of me, amidst the trash and rubble. As I stood at the edge of the dump, the pungent scent of discarded memories filled the air. I had never imagined I would find myself here, among heaps of trash and broken dreams. Yet something about the scene before me intrigued me. Ana Clara was a vision of determination, her hands moving swiftly through the rubble, sorting through the chaos with an inexplicable grace. I felt drawn to her like a moth to a flame. "Hey there," I called out hesitantly, trying to mask the uncertainty in my voice. She turned to me, her face lighting up with a smile that seemed to illuminate the dull surroundings. "You're not here to judge, are you?" she replied, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Not at all," I said, stepping closer. "I'm just curious. You'd be surprised how many people look down on this place," she sighed, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "But every item here has a story. You just need to take the time to listen." Listening. I had spent my life in boardrooms, surrounded by high-stakes deals and luxury. Here in this dump, the stories were raw, unfiltered. I found myself captivated by Ana Clara's passion. I dropped my pretense of wealth and privilege and decided to join her. "Mind if I help?" I asked, unsure of what I could offer. "Of course. The more hands the better," she replied, handing me a pair of gloves. "Just watch out for sharp objects." We worked side by side, our laughter mingling with the sounds of rustling plastic and the distant honks of traffic. I learned about her life as we sorted through the remnants of others. "I take care of my mom," she shared, her voice softening. "She's been ill for a while, and I do my best to make sure she has everything she needs." "Must be tough," I said, genuinely interested. "It is, but I wouldn't trade it for anything," she replied, determination etched on her face. "My mom is my world. I want to make her proud." With each piece of junk we sorted, I felt myself shedding the weight of my former life. I was no longer Lucas Ribeiro, the millionaire businessman. Instead, I was just Lucas, a guy who found solace in the simplicity of this moment. Ana Clara's spirit was infectious, and I couldn't help but admire her resilience. "Do you ever dream of something more?" I asked, curiosity bubbling within me. "Oh, absolutely," she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling. "I dream of a little house with a garden, where my mom and I can grow our own vegetables. Simple, but it would be perfect. I could picture it vividly, a quaint little house filled with laughter and love." "That sounds amazing," I said, feeling a warmth spreading through me. "You deserve that." As we continued our labor, I found myself lost in the rhythm of our conversation. Ana Clara shared stories of her childhood, her laughter ringing like music. "I used to collect seashells at the beach," she said, her expression wistful. "I thought they were the most beautiful treasures in the world." "Seashells?" chuckled. "You're not talking about your mom's old jewelry?" "No way. Those shells were special. They were free, just like dreams," she replied, her enthusiasm infectious. I felt a sense of camaraderie building between us, something I hadn't experienced in a long time. The disparity between our lives faded as I listened to her hopes and dreams. I realized how little I truly knew about what it meant to live without the cushion of wealth. "Why do you do this?" I asked, gesturing to the dump. "I mean, isn't it hard?" She paused, her gaze thoughtful. "It's hard, yes, but every little thing can be repurposed. Gives me hope. In a way, it's like life. We all have the potential to be something new, to rise from our circumstances." Her words struck a chord deep within me. I had been so consumed by my wealth and my impending wedding that I had lost sight of what truly mattered. I realized that in my pursuit of luxury, I had overlooked the beauty of simplicity and sincerity. "Maybe we're not so different after all," I said, smiling at her. "Exactly," she beamed. "Everyone has their struggles. It's what we make of them that counts." As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't experienced in years. I was no longer just a millionaire with doubts about love. I was a man discovering the depth of connection and understanding with someone who saw beauty in the everyday. Ana Clara wasn't just a stranger in a dump. She was the breath of fresh air I didn't know I needed. And for the first time in a long while, I felt hope. The sun began to set, casting a warm golden hue over the hospital parking lot as I stepped out of the dilapidated car that I had come to think of as a second home. I glanced at the building, a stark contrast to the life I had left behind. My heart raced with anticipation as I made my way to the entrance, the aroma of antiseptic and the faint sound of beeping machines enveloping me. Today, I was accompanying Ana Clara to visit her mother. It was a simple gesture, but it felt monumental. As we walked through the corridors, Ana Clara's hand instinctively found mine. Her touch was warm and reassuring, a stark contrast to the cold reality of the hospital around us. "I'm so grateful you're here with me," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I wouldn't want to be anywhere else," I replied, squeezing her hand gently. The sincerity in her eyes made my chest tighten. I had never felt such a strong connection with anyone before, not even with Vanessa. When we reached her mother's room, Ana Clara hesitated for a moment, her face clouded with worry. "I hope she's doing okay," she murmured, biting her lip. I could see the love and concern etched into her features, and it struck me how genuine she was compared to the facade I had previously known. "Let's go in," I encouraged softly, nudging the door open. The room was filled with the soft hum of machinery and the scent of medication. Ana Clara's mother lay frail in the bed, a pale shadow of the vibrant woman Ana Clara often described. "Mom!" Ana Clara's voice broke slightly as she approached the bedside. I stepped back to give her space, feeling like an intruder in this deeply personal moment. I watched as she gently took her mother's hand, her thumb tracing soothing circles over her knuckles. "I brought you something." From her bag, she pulled out a homemade meal, carefully wrapped and still warm. "I made your favorite, chicken Alfredo," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "I hope you like it." Her mother's eyes fluttered open, and a faint smile spread across her lips. "Anna, sweet girl," she croaked, her voice weak but filled with love. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to, Mom. You need to eat," Ana Clara insisted, her determination shining through the worry. The way she cared for her mother was nothing short of inspiring, and I found myself captivated by her unwavering spirit. After a while I stepped outside, giving them some privacy. The evening air was refreshing, and as I leaned against the wall, I took a deep breath, trying to process the whirlwind of emotions that had engulfed me since I met Ana Clara. Later, when Ana Clara finally emerged from the room, her eyes were glistening with unshed tears. "Thank you for being here," she said, wiping her cheeks. "It means so much to me." "Of course," I replied, my heart aching for her. "I'm just glad I could support you." As we walked back to the car, the sky was painted in hues of orange and purple, the stars beginning to twinkle overhead. We found a quiet spot in the small park nearby, a place far removed from the hospital's sterile atmosphere. I sat down on a bench, inviting her to join me, and we fell into a comfortable silence, the weight of the day slowly lifting. "Lucas," she began, breaking the stillness. "Can I tell you something?" "Anything," I urged, leaning closer, my curiosity piqued. "I've always dreamed of helping others, of making a difference," she confessed, her eyes glistening with passion. "But it's hard sometimes. I feel overwhelmed." "You're already making a difference, you know," I said, my voice steady and sincere. "The way you care for your mom, how you see beauty in the world, I can't help but admire that." She smiled, a soft blush creeping up her cheeks. It was in that moment, under the vast expanse of stars, that I realized how much I had come to cherish her presence. I had spent so long surrounded by wealth and superficiality, yet here I was, utterly captivated by a woman whose heart was as rich as any treasure. "Lucas, can I ask you something?" she said, her expression serious now. "Sure," I replied, my heart racing. "What do you want in life? What are your dreams?" I took a deep breath, contemplating my answer. "I want authenticity, Anna. I want to feel connected to someone, to share a life filled with real moments." I confessed, the weight of my past slowly lifting. "I want love that isn't tainted by wealth or appearances." She looked at me, her gaze piercing through my defenses. "You deserve that, Lucas. You really do." In that moment, I realized how much I had grown to care for her. It was a feeling that was both exhilarating and terrifying. I found myself wanting to protect this bond we had formed, to nurture it and watch it grow. I wanted to tell her that I had fallen for her, but the words caught in my throat, an unspoken promise lingering in the air between us. The sun shone brightly as I prepared to surprise Ana Clara with a small celebration for her mother's recovery. I had been waiting for this moment, wanting to show her how much I appreciated her unwavering spirit and the kindness she had shown me over the past few months. I remembered the way she had tirelessly worked at the dump, always wearing that warm smile, even when the world seemed to weigh heavily on her shoulders. It was a stark contrast to the superficial life I had led before, one filled with lavish parties and empty conversations. I gathered a few items, some fresh flowers, a homemade cake I had learned to bake with her guidance, and a small card. As I approached her modest home, my heart raced with anticipation. I knocked on the door, and moments later, Ana Clara appeared, her eyes lighting up with surprise. "Lucas, what's all this?" she exclaimed, her voice a melody that warmed my heart. "Just a little something to celebrate your mother's recovery," I said, handing her the flowers. "I thought we could make today special." Her eyes sparkled with joy as she took the flowers, bringing them to her nose to inhale their sweet fragrance. "You didn't have to do this, but it means so much to me," she said, her cheeks flushing slightly. As we set up the small table in her living room, I couldn't help but admire her. The way she moved with grace, even in the simplest of clothes, was captivating. We spent the afternoon talking and laughing, sharing stories that drew us closer together. With every bite of the cake, I felt the walls I had built around my heart begin to crumble. "Can I tell you something?" I said, hesitating for a moment. My palms were sweaty as I prepared to confess the feelings that had been growing inside me. "Of course. You can tell me anything," Ana Clara replied, her eyes encouraging. "I think I'm falling in love with you," I finally blurted, my heart pounding in my chest. "You've shown me more about what it means to live and love than anyone ever has." For a moment, silence enveloped us, and I feared I had misread her cues. Then, a radiant smile broke across her face, lighting up the room. "Lucas, I feel the same way," she exclaimed, her voice filled with genuine warmth. "I've felt it for a while now, but I didn't know how to say it." Relief washed over me, followed by an overwhelming surge of happiness. I stepped closer, and as if drawn by an invisible force, we shared a tender kiss. It was sweet, innocent, and filled with all the emotions we had both been holding back. The world around us faded away, leaving just the two of us in that moment. As the days turned into weeks, our bond deepened. I cherished every moment spent with Ana Clara, but I knew there was something I had to do. The truth of my millionaire status loomed over me like a shadow. I worried about how she would react if she discovered my past. Would it change everything between us? One evening, as we sat under the stars after a long day at the dump, I felt the weight of my secret pressing down on me. "Ana Clara," I began, my voice trembling slightly. "There's something important I need to tell you." She turned to me, her expression open and attentive. "What is it, Lucas? You can trust me." Taking a deep breath, I gathered my courage. "I'm not just a regular guy working at the dump. I come from a wealthy family. I have a lot of money, and I've been living a lie. I wanted to experience life differently, away from the expectations that came with my wealth." Her eyes widened in surprise, but she quickly regained her composure. "Lucas, it doesn't matter to me where you come from. What matters is who you are and how you treat people. I just wanted to be honest with you," I said, my heart racing. "I care about you deeply, and I didn't want my past to taint what we have." She reached out, taking my hand in hers. "You could have told me sooner. I fell in love with you for you, not your money. Let's focus on what we have now and not what you left behind." Her words melted away my fears, and in that moment, I felt a sense of freedom. I knew that our love was real, untainted by the material world I had once inhabited. It was a new beginning, and I was ready to embrace it fully with Ana Clara by my side. Taking a deep breath, I sat across from Ana Clara at our favorite spot near the dump, the sun setting behind us, casting a warm glow on her face. The moment had come, and my heart raced as I prepared to reveal the truth about myself. "Ana, there's something important I need to tell you," I began, my voice slightly trembling. Her eyes widened with curiosity, and she leaned in closer, her expression encouraging yet cautious. "What is it, Lucas? You can tell me anything." I hesitated, the weight of my world threatening to crush me. I'm not who you think I am. I am, but I'm also a millionaire. I watched her face closely for any sign of disappointment or shock, hoping for the best but bracing for the worst. For a moment, she didn't say anything. The air felt thick with tension as I processed the myriad of emotions that flickered across her face. Shock, confusion, and then understanding. "So, you're telling me you're rich? Like really rich?" she finally asked, her voice almost a whisper. "Yes," I admitted, feeling vulnerable as I laid my truth bare. "I was supposed to marry someone else, someone who only wanted my money. I wanted to know if you would love me for who I am, not what I have." Ana Clara's gaze softened, and a smile slowly broke through her initial shock. "Lucas, I appreciate your honesty, but you need to understand something. I've fallen for you, not your wealth but you. This doesn't change how I feel about us." Relief washed over me, and I found myself smiling back at her. "Really? You're not upset?" "Upset? No. I'm proud of you for being honest with me." Her words felt like a balm to my soul, easing the tension that had built up inside me. "You've shown me a side of life I never knew existed. You've embraced the simple things, and that's what I love." Just then, the atmosphere shifted. I felt a presence behind me and turned to see Vanessa storming toward us, her expression a mix of desperation and anger. "Lucas, I need to talk to you," she demanded, her voice dripping with entitlement. I stood, feeling a surge of protectiveness for Ana Clara. "What do you want, Vanessa?" I replied, trying to keep my tone calm despite the irritation bubbling within me. "Don't act like you've moved on. You're making a huge mistake. You know I was just testing you that day, right?" she said, her eyes darting between me and Ana Clara, who stood beside me, unwavering. "A test?" I laughed bitterly. "You mean your shallow nature was on full display? I saw who you really are, Vanessa. I'm done with the games. You're a fool, Lucas. You think this girl cares about you? She's likely just after your money too." Vanessa's voice was sharp, but I couldn't let her get to me. "No, Vanessa. She loves me for who I am, something you could never understand." I glanced at Ana Clara, who remained steadfast, her hand brushing against mine for support. "Lucas, don't throw away everything we had." Vanessa's voice wavered, but I saw the desperation in her eyes. She was clinging to the past, to the fortune she had expected to gain. "Everything we had was built on lies, Vanessa. I won't let you manipulate me any longer." Just then, Jake appeared out of nowhere, his face a mask of regret. "Lucas, I need to tell you something." His eyes flickered to Vanessa, and I could sense the tension. "I've seen how she treats you, the rumors about her. It's all true. She's been plotting ever since you two got engaged." "What?" I was taken aback, my body tensing. "What are you talking about?" "Vanessa has been spreading lies about you, trying to turn people against you to regain your fortune. She's nothing but a user," Jake revealed, his voice steady. "Is this true, Vanessa?" I demanded, feeling my heart race with a mix of anger and disbelief. "Shut up, Jake. You don't know anything," she snapped, but the desperation in her voice betrayed her. As the realization hit me, I felt a wave of vindication. "You've been exposed, Vanessa. This is over." With that, Vanessa's facade crumbled, and I turned to Ana Clara, who looked at me with unwavering support. In that moment, I knew I had made the right choice. True love wasn't about wealth. It was about loyalty, understanding, and connection. With Ana Clara by my side, I felt ready to face whatever came next, proving that genuine affection truly transcends material wealth.